Hi, Max here with Frizzwoods, and in this video we're going to be talking about the SFSTs, or Standardized Field Sobriety Tests. If you're watching this video, perhaps you or someone you know was recently charged with a DUI, or maybe you just had questions because you've seen people on the side of the road doing a series of funky tests. So, hopefully this video can answer some of the questions that you have about these standardized tests. Why are they standardized? They're standardized because an officer in Honolulu, Hawaii and Miami, Florida who suspects somebody of drinking and driving should put the driver through the same tests. This way, those tests can be scientifically validated. Now, the agency that handles that is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHSTA, and every few years they put out a new set of training materials. Officers are then trained by instructors, and occasionally attorneys like myself are also trained by instructors. Every officer should put each person they suspect of drunk driving through the same 3 tests the same way, and this way they can extrapolate whether or not they have probable cause to arrest the person for a drunk driving offense. What are the 3 tests? The first test is the horizontal gaze and nystagmus, or HGN test. It's an optical test. The officer is looking for nystagmus, or an involuntary movement of the pupil, while the eye tracks a stimulus along the horizontal plane. Now, there are other reasons for that nystagmus to show. Perhaps the most common one that I argue in court is what we call optokinetic nystagmus. Many officers forget to turn off their red and blues on the deck above their car and then have the person face it while looking for nystagmus. Well, that nystagmus could be caused by those red and blues. There are also other reasons to have nystagmus. Some people have resting nystagmus, which is something the officer is supposed to look for, and lots of people have lots of different optical conditions that could cause nystagmus. So, the next 2 tests are more what I would consider a balancing test. The first test that you see after the horizontal gaze is known as the walk and turn test. It involves a series of heel-to-toe steps along an imaginary or actual line, and a person is supposed to be instructed into what's called the instructional phase first, and then the officer is supposed to display 3 or more of the steps, and a turn, which involves a series of small steps while a lead foot is planted. None of the walk and turn tests, in my opinion, is very intuitive, and in fact, it's why I think most of the mistakes from the walk and turn test tend to come from the confusing nature of the instructions. The officer really only tells them to the person once and asks if they understand, bearing in mind this is usually on the side of sometimes a busy highway, sometimes even at night, involving people with various medical conditions and states of physical fitness. The last test is the one-leg stand, and that involves holding a foot out for 30 seconds, and there are some additional things that the officer is looking for, like whether or not the person uses their arm for balance or hops. So, clues. How do you pass the test? Well, these are really not tests because you cannot pass. The only thing that you can do is display enough clues for the officer to arrest you. I guess the officer could choose not to arrest you, and sometimes they do, but even if you perform what I would consider satisfactorily, the officer can still request you do a preliminary breath test, and depending on the state you're in, that could or could not be used against you as well. So, why is this such a test that I take issue with? Well, both the walk and turn and one-leg stand involve things that you actually control. Nystagmus is out of your body's control. You can't stop yourself from doing it, but the walk and turn and one-leg stand the walk and turn contains 8 potential clues, the one-leg stand contains 4 potential clues, but the officer in their instructions does not tell you what they are actually looking for. So while they tell you to keep your arms down by your side during the one-leg stand, what they don't tell you is that raising them enough will cause you to actually get a clue. Additionally, they tell you to hold your foot out and count and continue to count out loud while they time it on their device. But what they don't tell you is if you hop, I'll be knocking a point off. So really what they're looking for are you to display behaviors they've not actually told you not to do. And that's the primary issue that I and many other attorneys take with these standardized field sobriety tests. So, I hope you learned something here today. If you have any further questions about your DUI case, I suggest you contact an attorney in your state. If you're in my home state of Maryland and you have a DUI charge and you are interested in speaking with us, we'd be happy to talk with you about your case. Good luck.